Welcome back to the Transplanting Podcast. My name is Bear, of course, joined by the lovely Daphne with very cute earrings again.
Yeah, I mean they're different leaves today.
Different leaves.
They're shiny leaves.
Very cute.
Yeah, nice. um, yeah. So today's the day after Trans Day of Remembrance, and I don't know when people are going to hear this, but that's kind of when we're recording this right now. But today we have. I don't know. I'm really excited about this. I have been trying to find someone from the military to come in and talk for a while about what's happening with different things. I finally was able to reach somebody, and word was spread out, and so I've had a few people reach out to me, and this one I'm really excited about. Today we have Brynn Tannehill, and Brynn, you've done everything in life. From being in the military, sounds like. Plus, I'm seeing 4 books that you've wrote. Is that correct?
3 books.
3 books and strategy. So yeah, I mean that's really cool. I mean, is it fair to say critically acclaimed, or is that like a title you have to earn?
I think that's a title you have to earn. I don't think I've earned it. I think
it's a Daphne acclaimed writer, and
is somewhere between infamy and feared and despised is probably where you put me.
We have the Did you say despised, or was I about to say
that?
that?
Despised. Oh yeah, I'm as popular as passing wind at a White House dinner. Which, given the current administration, I wouldn't even have to pass wind to be that popular.
Okay.
We're gonna start off that way. All right. So Brynn, do you want to start off? Let's just hear kind of your story, and then let's, if you're okay with this, and then maybe work up into going through the military, and then everything's kind of happened. Also, there's a lot that we can talk about because of the military, the story, the books. Yeah. So this may be a longer episode. We may break it into 2 parts. Potentially.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
We'll see how it goes. I just want people to be aware it may be a thing. So anyway, I'm excited about this. There's so much to talk about, and so yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I'll give you the really short abbreviated version of the highlights, right?
Okay.
So Brynn Tannehill, I went to the Naval Academy from 93 to 97. I flew Navy SH-60 Bravo helicopters. They're a light airborne multi-purpose helicopter. Flies off of cruisers, destroyers, or frigates. Did 2 deployments doing that. Flew P-3C Orion 4-engine turboprop maritime patrol aircraft. I did that for 1 deployment. I did 1 more deployment with 5th Fleet headquarters. I went to the Air Force Institute of Technology and got a degree in operations research, postgraduate degree. Got out of the Navy. Worked in defense industry for quite a while. At some point around 2010, I officially started transitioning. And by 2012, I was done. Lost a job, got another job, moved to DC. Did a bunch of things with different LGBT organizations and trans organizations, Equality Ohio and Sparta and Outserve SLDN and Trans United Fund. And in the process, I wrote 3 books. First one was Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Trans, but Were Afraid to Ask. That was kind of a compilation of a bunch of different articles I wrote between 2012 and about 2018. Next book was American Fascism, How the GOP is Subverting Democracy. I wrote that throughout the Trump presidency, and I wanted to wait to see how it finished out. And then there was January 6th. So the book got published. That book got published in April of 2021. Next book was a collaboration between me and a bunch of parents of trans youth, including my wife, about advice to other parents who have trans kids. And we do have a trans kid. It came out in 2017. He's graduating from McGill University. I got back into the military in the National Guard, California National Guard, where I flew UH-60 Lima and UH-60 Mike Blackhawks with a medevac company. I've also done a little bit of flying over the summer commercially, doing firefighting in Blackhawks in the western U.S., mostly with the U.S. Forest Service as a contractor. I am currently between jobs, waiting to start my next job as an air ambulance pilot, and that should be starting here in December. One other thing to mention is I am one of those trans people who said, if this happens, if Trump wins, we are leaving the United States. We have left the United States. My family is in Canada. This office is somewhere in British Columbia.
Fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough. So, oh my gosh, great resume. I mean, you have so many accomplishments, and that's really cool. I had so many questions while you were bringing up some of that. How did you know you were trans? Can we start there? Is that a conversation you're okay with? I mean, a lot of people wonder that, is that something that it was just part of the in crowd and you were just like, hey, I want to be cool. I'm a badass at helicopter flying anyway, and so I want to be cooler.
So I am older than I look by a considerable margin, right?
You look great.
Thank you. Tomorrow's my 51st birthday.
Ooh, happy early birthday.
Yeah,
Yay.
so I am now officially trans elder, which is like, it is what it is, but that's why I have so many stories. I'm freaking old. So, it's hard to describe. You're just not comfortable with your gender roles. You're not comfortable with your body. Being an 80s kid in a religiously conservative household, it's one of those things that you recognize, and you just I tried to hide it. I tried to bury myself in pursuing my career, in just staying so busy that I didn't have time to deal with it or think about it. It never went away. So this isn't like one of those, oh, wow, I figured it out when I was 35. No, I figured it out when I was 13. I just didn't want to have to deal with the repercussions of being a queer kid in a Mormon household who knew that they would never get to do the thing that they wanted to most in life, which was fly, right? Trans people didn't get to serve in the military. And so I had a choice. I can fly or I can be myself. And when I was no longer flying after I was discharged from the military in the late 2000s, that was, well, okay, I'm not flying. So I need to deal with this because it was causing problems in my life. It was causing a significant amount of friction. And to kind of describe what it's like being trans for somebody who isn't, is when you look in the mirror, that's not the person you think you should be seeing, right? And it's almost like I had a grandparent with Alzheimer's, right? And she'd look in the mirror and it scared her because there's an old person staring back at her, right? And that's not what her mind was telling her. She thought she was 18, right?
Oh my.
Right.
I think that's such a good analogy.
It is.
Right. And you're looking in the mirror and it's like, that's not me. This is not how my body's supposed to be. It feels really alien. And at the same time, there's also a mental aspect to it, which I always described it as trying to method act your way through life with like a little acting coach on your shoulder. Right. Okay, sit like this, gesture like this, like this, interact like this. Right. You're trying to method act your way through life. And the problem is a lot of the time, you don't like that person, right? And understanding why that causes mental anguish, mental friction. So, did you ever see Batman, The Dark Knight, right? With Heath Ledger?
Ledger, yeah.
Right? Apparently Heath Ledger, part of his
want to play a game?
Staying in the character of Joker all the time for 9 months took a pretty heavy toll on him, right?
Yeah.
And for a trans person, that's trying to pick a role and stay in it for 20 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's not mentally healthy, right?
Right.
To spend your entire life wound up trying to act a part so that nothing bad happens to you and so that nobody suspects that you might not be anything other than cisgender or that you might be trans or
right. So you're not the messed up one.
Right. And it's kind of funny. One of my friends from the academy, who was always one of the wiser people I knew, who saw into me as a person a little more clearly than most. 2010 timeframe, I'm typing into the computer late at night. I'm like, I got to tell you something. Like, oh God, you're gay, aren't you? I'm like, yes, but not quite the way you think.
I got asked that too. I got asked that several times if I was gay.
Lesbian's still gay, so. But yeah, no, it's that's kind of in a nutshell trying to convey to somebody who's not trans what being trans is like, right?
I really like the Alzheimer's reference, though. That's one I've not heard of, but like it makes so much sense and gives you something that you feel like you can really connect with. I like that.
And I think it's a little more what you're describing. It's a little more intense than looking in the mirror and, oh, well, you got a blemish on your face. It's a little bit different and more intense. Because it's not just a blemish on your face. It's more.
I would look in the mirror and there was a guy on my face.
Yeah, that's what I'm. That's what I'm leading. That's what I'm leading up to. It is different. I think that's what is a part of the dysphoria. The dysphoria that comes with
yes.
it. It's way more intense than just seeing like a little blemish or something. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't like what they see in the mirror. But this is what you're describing. This is way more intense.
But here's the funny thing is you reach a point after transition and you, at a certain point, especially for trans women, you reach a point where you can't tell whether it's dysphoria or it's just what every woman doesn't like about herself is, my nose is too big, my nose is too small, my chin is too broad, so it's like,
yes.
I don't like the wrinkles, okay, yeah. Is this trans or is this just ending up being middle-aged and female?
Well, but I mean, isn't both of them gender dysphoria really? I mean, gender dysphoria isn't something that's
not really, because one is related to age, right? It's not dysphoria.
I mean, it's still body dysmorphia.
Gender. It's a little bit, but not. Let me think. If it's everybody gets older, and there's a severe penalty on women, right? Guys can be good looking at 50. It's pretty tough for women to be good looking at 50.
Well, you're pulling it off.
As one famous actress, I think it was Meryl Streep, said there's 3 phases to every actress's career. Vixen, lawyer, and driving Miss Daisy.
I love that. A little too much.
So, I'm in the lawyer phase, and it's kind of like, I'd still like to be out there having fun.
Am I in the lawyer phase, Bear?
No, you're boss bitch mode.
Doesn't that mean fucking no. In the lawyer mode?
You're your own category.
Okay. Okay. So that's what it's like with figuring out that you're trans. You put it down for a while. At some point in there, you decided to join the military. What's that like? Deciding
to join the military? The military was a vehicle to get to fly the best aircraft in the world.
Yeah.
Right. I grew up on the right stuff and Chuck Yeager and test pilots and. A bunch of my relatives who were World War II age flew in World War II. We had B-24 pilots. We had Dauntless dive bomber pilot. We had a P-51 pilot. We had a
Oh my God.
guy who flew B-24 or PBY privateers into hurricanes. He was one of the original hurricane hunters who ended up being part of the original NOAA hurricane hunting crew after the war, right? So there's pilots kind of in my blood. It's part of my family history. And I grew up poor. I didn't have a lot of money. We lived in a crappy neighborhood in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah. And my mom was a school teacher right next to Luke Air Force Base. So I grew up watching the F-15s back when it was an F-15 training base, doing formation takeoffs. They'd rotate and climb out at 45 degrees nose up at dawn in the Arizona,
and that's saying something because there wasn't
coming out of them and a noise so intense you could feel it shaking your chest. It would shake the phlegm in your lungs, right? That goes to the runway.
That's how we
cured
air
show every morning.
That's how we cured our colds in the winters. Just go out to the Air Force Base, and now you're good.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
So I wanted to fly, right?
Yeah.
And my family had no money. And the way I was going to get to fly the hottest aircraft in the world was I was going to have to join the military, right?
Right.
And okay, I flew Blackhawks mostly, but Blackhawks are still one of the best military helicopters in the world.
Okay, but if you had to pick any other aircraft, right? It sounds like Blackhawks was like, yeah, this is good, but there was something I wanted more. Was there another something that you were like, oh my God, I want this?
My grandfather was an engineer with Hughes.
Okay.
And I grew up on stories about the F-14.
Nice.
And then there was Top Gun came out when I was 11, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that was like, whoa, right? And then there was another movie that nobody remembers. It was a stupid movie, but the air-to-air footage was amazing, right? And it had a decent soundtrack.
What movie was it?
Called The Final Countdown.
Yes.
Right? And what was cool about The Final Countdown was it managed to take film footage of an entire carrier air wing flying a strike package together in tight formation, right? And it wasn't doing it in like mid 80s, haze, complete, the aircraft painted in haze gray.
Right.
These were back when the top was gloss light gray and the bottom was white, and there was colorful markings all over the aircraft, right? Back in the 70s, right? So, I mean, it was really pretty cinematography. Sorry, I'm a little bit of a cinemaphile too, so.
There you go. Okay, so you go join the military, you want to fly, you join the Navy. And then you said you were I almost said deported, but that's not the right word. It wasn't you were
National Guard.
Well, no, activated or what's the word I'm looking for?
Deployed.
Yes, not deported. You were deployed several times, right? So I'm assuming you were on carriers. What?
I was not on carriers.
You were not.
Oh.
No. I flew the 60 Bravos, Seahawks. They're a navalized version of the Black Hawk helicopter. They got radar and sonobuoys and sub-hunting gear and
all the cool things.
FLIR, right? And they're kind of the eyes and ears of surface combatants for the fleet, right? So you take off from a destroyer or a cruiser or frigate, you go out and you scout for them, basically, is your primary mission.
Oh, my.
Oh, I know they look like the Coast Guard helicopters.
Yeah, they look like Jayhawks, except they're gray.
Yeah.
That one's...
Yeah.
Oh, my.
I mean, they're cool. They're cool. Okay, you weren't on a carrier, though. What were you? Were you just based off the shore?
So no. I like I said, cruisers, destroyers, frigates. I served on briefly on board the USS Moosebrugger. Funny name.
So,
the Arthur W. Radford and the Winston S. Churchill. First two are a couple of Spruance class destroyers. They're all decommissioned now.
Right.
And Winston S. Churchill is currently off the coast of Venezuela.
Oh, fun. You could be having fun right now. So what is it like landing a helicopter on the ocean? Like, because you got waves
Well,
bouncing and you're trying to come down
ocean,
slow.
technically, you're going to get wet. That's the goal, is not to get wet, right? So you shoot the approach, starting about
I
4
love this
miles
so
back,
much. Yeah.
right? And you're coming in at 80 knots and 400 feet. 200. You're looking for about 200 feet at a half mile, right? Decelerating through 40 knots, and then you come to the back of the ship, right?
Right.
And you're looking to be about 40 feet above the deck, and you want to get into a high hover, right? And you're going to start lowering right to the deck. And once you want to slowly come down to about 3 to 5 feet above the deck. And there's a probe that sticks out of the bottom of the helicopter that's supposed to go into a trap. And the trap closes on the probe and locks the helicopter in place when you land. And the jaws of the trap are only about that far apart and about that long. So you've only got about like a 3 foot by 3 foot space to put it down. And for a good helicopter pilot, putting it down very precisely isn't that hard. But the problem is you got the wind coming over the hangar, or you might have the wind coming around the sides of the ship, buffeting you. You don't have a visible horizon because you're looking at the hangar face in front of you, right?
Right.
You can't see the horizon in front of you. You're just trying to, basically, as the ship pitches and rolls and as the wind comes over, you're trying to fly formation with the ship at about 3 feet above the ship, right? And the guy in the back, right, your sensor operator, is looking through the cargo hatch, and he's telling you where the probe is in relation to the helicopter, right?
Almost.
And so he's calling you, he'll be like, all right, back 3, 2, 1, steady, left 2, 1, land now. And at that point, you will basically just take the collective, which controls the pitch on the blades and thrust from the rotors. You drop that, put a little forward stick in because the way the blades are tilted forward, right? You'd go backwards. You'd go backwards a little bit to compensate, and basically just drop a little bit forward, a little bit of pedal, and fall the last 3 feet. So it's almost like a trap onto a carrier, but with a helicopter, right? Because of the wind, because of the drift, because of the movement of the ship, you only have a very brief window, right? And when you're trying to drop, you're also trying to time it so that the ship isn't pitching or rolling too much at that instant, right? You want to land when it's relatively flat.
So, like, what if you have waves? Because my thought is, if you're coming in and trying to meet the ship, whatever, won't the ship come up and slam into you?
That's a possibility. And you have to be riding the cyclic or the collective the whole time, right? Right? You see it starting to come up. You'll have a little bit, right? And that's, you bring it up. So you are, like I said, you're flying formation with the deck of the ship.
Damn.
And waiting for just that right moment to drop it.
Wow.
Damn.
No. There's no way. Like I'm trying to picture that and think about it. You have to put a lot of trust into the person behind you, don't you? You got to correlate and you got to put a lot of trust in that person.
Do you have a second pilot?
It's very much a crew concept.
Is there a second pilot in that one?
There is. There's the Blackhawks are all basically all dual piloted.
Okay. So what's the other person doing if you're the one taking the copter? Because I mean, you can't both be on the directions, are you?
So they are probably riding the flight controls with you, and they're also watching what's going on the deck of the ship for safety. Because normally on the deck of the flight deck of a cruiser or destroyer or frigate, there's going to be guys. You're going to have the lineman who's also going to be giving you signals, but honestly, the guy in the back seat gives better directions than the guy in the front. than the lineman, because they can't see as well.
Yeah.
And things can go wrong, right? And they're also monitoring to see for wave off. They're monitoring the landing signals officer and the landing lights, because they could also be. Whereas you, the pilot that controls, you're really mostly just focused on
matching the ship.
on that formation flying, right?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's so much.
Yeah, it is.
That's so much. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, I just want to know what that would be like. That just seems
That's cool.
so stressful to do that. So, I mean, you got a star as a certified badass. That's what I just
No
heard.
joke.
Maybe. I don't know if I count anymore, but yeah.
I think that's really cool. Okay, so you were with the military, and it was not with your time with the Navy that you decided to come out. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was after I got out of the Navy.
Okay. Do you want to kind of? I read through the timeline that you had sent me, but there was a lot of information in that timeline. Do you want to talk about the? You were just normally discharged from the Navy, right? Like there wasn't something that kicked you out of it. It was
No.
just kind of the end of term, and you weren't there anymore.
Well, the problem was that I was they were retiring the P3, so that I got forced out of the
Right.
Navy. In great part due to the fact that the P3 was being retired and they weren't promoting any of the pilots.
Right.
So
Okay, right. I remember reading that. So then there was a lot that you did between then and making it back with the National Guard. There was a lot of legal battle and a lot of dumb stuff that you had to get through. Do you want to kind of go through some of that and what? Because I mean, you did a lot during that time too. You were working other jobs, but then I read you were also working directly with the Biden administration on ways to work with trans people, and so I think all of this would be really good to hear.
So I between 2013 in 2012 I got involved with Sparta, or it was OutServe SLDN, or was OutServe, then it became OutServe SLDN, then it became MMAA. It's the bunch of changes. The short version is that a organization split off, and for transgender service members specifically, called Sparta, and it's the big organization. It's the
Yes.
biggest service organization for transgender service members. There's a few others, but they're really small. We managed to get everybody under one umbrella starting around 2013.
And this is the one that you ended up becoming a head over, right?
No, I was never head of it. I was just on the board.
Okay.
I was on the board from 2013 to 2019, and then still technically on the board. Technically. Well, there's not a lot going on other than watching our lives fall apart
Right.
helplessly.
Right.
This isn't. The deck has been stacked against us, and there's not a lot of people willing to do much for us at this point.
Right.
Sure.
Well, so during that time you were with Sparta, and
And there was a documentary called Transmilitary, done by Fiona Dawson, that followed a bunch of people. I was supposed to be a big part of that documentary. They needed additional funding to finish it out,
yeah.
and all of the stuff they filmed of me got cut. So I was the subject matter expert. So when they would talk like legal stuff, the admin stuff,
Right.
policy stuff, they would cut to me talking about that part, and then they would go back to the people actually serving, right? And all that explanatory stuff got cut out of the film, and all you can see is me, like, standing in the background in a few scenes. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that actually is a good explanation of what happened and how we got open service for transgender members through by 2016. Nobody thought it was possible, or very few people thought it was possible. It sounds very Trumpy saying nobody thought it was possible.
It was the horriblest thing. Nobody's ever seen anything as bad as this, okay?
Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
And the documentary, by the way, the documentary was the worst thing. If it would have had my name on it, it could have been the best documentary ever. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was so no. So what happened after we got open trans service, though, I was hitting higher tenure in the individual ready reserve, and I got kicked out of the inactive reserves before I could get back in. And that set off a chain of events where it took me another 5 years to get into the National Guard and back to flying, right?
Right. I mean,
And it was
delay after delay.
like if you read the chronology, there's a bunch of crazy things happen in there, like
Yes.
including me being writing the Biden campaign's LGBT policy for the Veterans Administration and DoD.
Right.
There was an LGBT policy group, and I was in charge of the VA and DoD stuff.
How did that come to you?
Gosh, I don't even remember anymore. Somebody reached out to me that I knew at what used to be the National Transgender. What was it? It's a transgender for equality. It used to be whatever it used to be, the DC based organization.
I mean,
and they had some policy wonk people, but they didn't know the military the way I did. And they're like, "Hey, we got asked if Sparta can provide somebody who's a policy wonk, and you're the policy wonk."
I mean, so they just come in. They're like, "Hey, you're a certified badass. I'm flying a helicopter. Come write legal language for us."
Well, there's a lot in there, but I spent years in the policy world, developing the policy for transgender inclusion in the military. I did some studies. I worked with the Rand Corporation on their project behind the scenes. My name's not on it, but
right
back in 2014, 2015, I did a bunch of background research, wrote it up as a report, got it edited, and that was Sparta's input into how to develop trans policy. And then I was at the Rand Corporation, and I just kind of flipped that over the wall to them and said, "Okay, here's I did your homework for you. Here's where we're starting, right? Here's what you need to know."
Right.
That was kind of the basis for a lot of what happened from there. So I did understand policy. I did have a background, and it wasn't just like suddenly plunked me down. No, I've been working policy on that for years. Before I got handed that responsibility. And I didn't talk about it forever, because one of the things that came of it was I was still trying to make my way into the National Guard.
Right.
And I included some language.
I saw that.
NDAA that would cover my situation specifically. And it made
I saw
there.
that.
The language made it into the executive order. And that helped us overcome some of the administrative hurdles we had, because it was in an executive order. This is what the White House wants. Please do what the White House told you to do. Right?
Was that like a Grinch moment where you're just like, "Wow"?
Oh, that was one of those. I can't believe I pulled it off. Right? It's one of those. Oh, I'm feeling like a badass. Right?
6 years after being a pilot, now I'm a badass.
Being a pilot's one thing. Managing to get an executive order written specifically for yourself, that's kind of cool.
It is.
That's a flex.
So many accomplishments here.
PhD in badassery.
It's a BA.
It's a BA. Yeah. I love that.
Okay, so you got the thing part of the executive order. You're working up, you're getting delay after delay from the military about getting back in, and then something finally happened for you to get back in.
So I can't confirm if this is what pushed it over the... So there was so many different hurdles, but one of the craziest ones was there was a ambiguity in the policy, and I worked at RAND directly for the person who became the Secretary of the Army. And there was a policy where the language was ambiguous, and you could interpret it one way and that would mean I couldn't get in, and you could interpret it another way and would mean I would get in. And we needed to get an interpretation from civilian leadership that said this is how you should interpret it.
Right.
And I needed to pass a message to the Secretary of the Army, and like, "Hey, this is what we need. This is what's going on. Brynn, here's where she's at. This is what we need. This is where the package is at." But I can't talk with her directly.
Right.
And funniest thing was, who here knows who Sean Astin is?
I do not.
Oh, yeah. Sean Astin.
You just go,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
from
I know
the-
the guy.
Yeah, from the
Great
Goonies.
guy.
and
Mikey from
yeah.
Goonies,
He's from
right?
the Goonies. Yeah.
Right?
I'm like Bears over here just going, oh yeah, stand-up guy. I know him. He got his number
He
right
threw
here.
a ring into the fires.
I don't know anything about dropping no eaves, Mr. Frodo. Right?
That's it.
The nerds come back out.
So he was getting an award from the Secretary of the Army, and he was swinging through Rand, and he got him to agree to pass a note to the Secretary of the Army, and mysteriously within a few days afterwards, the roadblock disappeared.
I love that.
And I'm still every once in a while I'll drop Sean Astin a note. So, but yeah, getting back in the cockpit, we know the ending. I'm getting kicked out unceremoniously. All of my gender markers reverted, even though I have a birth certificate and a passport. There was nothing that identifies me as male anywhere. And the only way, like, short of a full pelvic exam, it's just nuts. I don't get read as trans very often.
I did have a
But,
question.
it's not a happy ending,
Yeah.
more or less. But the fact that I got back in,
Right.
the fact that I got those flight hours led to a civilian job that got me a bunch of flight hours over the summer that led to me being able to start applying for jobs elsewhere. I don't know if I'd call it a happy ending, but maybe it's something more akin to a soft landing.
But it got you back in.
Yeah.
So
I got another, I have classmates from the academy. I have friends, and they all trying to get back in. They're like, aren't you a little long in the tooth to be doing this? Right. You're too old.
Ooh.
And I'm like, and I got asked that at my federal recognition board is like, you're 48 and you're coming back to the Army. Like, this is not normal, right? The way I joke that most people, when they have a midlife crisis, they buy a Mustang or they go on a cruise or they, buy a llama or something stupid. I joined the Army and got that.
A llama.
You going back in had a PT test that you had to do, right? Wasn't there like PT tests? And I would think going back into the military, you'd have to meet different requirements like that. Does being trans
I had to
affect?
lose a bunch of weight. I got fluffy during COVID, so I had to lose a bunch of weight.
So
I managed to lose 24 pounds in 3 months.
That's amazing.
Not bad.
So what is it like? When you did your PT test, did you have to meet women's requirements or still go for men's?
Yeah, women's standards. I was coming back in. I changed everything, right? And you can't tell from this. It's like, oh, wow, you must be like some, like,
right.
The assumption is that I have some like huge male advantage. No, I'm 5'4" and middle-aged, right?
I love that.
I am not a gifted athlete by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just one of those people who has spent most of their life working out a lot.
Do you have aviators?
Not good at it, but because it made me feel better.
Come on. Do you have aviators?
Aviator glasses?
Yeah.
No, actually I don't.
It was just like a random stupid question, but okay. So yeah, came back. You had to meet the PT standards. You cut a stupid amount of weight to be able to do that. I mean, that's a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Am I wrong on that?
No.
24 pounds in 3 months.
Keep in mind, this wasn't like a 200-pound person cutting 24 pounds.
No, that makes it
I'm
harder.
5'4".
I'll cry in 5'3", but I'll cry in 5'3", but
I was like, I'll cry in 250 pounds. So,
she's right. It is harder to lose, X amount of weight when you're already a small person, and 200 pounds at 5'4", that's still.
But you
hard.
said you weren't 200 pounds.
No, I
I was
wasn't. No,
going,
I went from 166 to 142.
oh my God. That, yeah, that's a little extreme. That's hard,
Bear
but you
just
did it.
dropped some balls on that one.
Oh, what was that noise? Yeah, good for you for being able to have the kind of physicality to drop the necessary weight that you needed. And dang.
How do you pull
Yeah,
off something like that?
so literally when we get done with this, I'm going to go hit the treadmill.
All right.
No, I'm dead serious. Like one of the first things we got when we moved to Canada is like, we're getting a treadmill.
Mm.
We're getting a replacement treadmill.
Fair enough. You don't just go run with the reindeer and just go. What? It's
No.
Canada, eh?
Well, we've got 3 huskies, and they're basically brain damaged wolves.
Oh my
So,
God! You should go take them sledding.
Yeah, that takes training, and I don't have that kind of time. You might have noticed I'm actually lead a fairly busy life.
I have noticed that.
You do.
Okay, so you made it back to the military. How does that feel? You finally made it back.
Oh man, it was amazing. Getting back in the UH-60 Lima Blackhawk, the cockpit was almost exactly the same as the 60 Bravo. So, it'd been 20 years since I'd flown Hawks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back in the cockpit was like magic.
You touch the
Everything
controls
was
and
basically where I left it. All the instruments, all the controls. It felt, just pulling in that collective, getting light on the skids, and you start to feel it. You can feel the helicopter just starting to inch upwards and getting a little wobbly. And you can, and then lifting off the ground, and you got that moment of instability, and then boom, you're back at that 10-foot hover. And it's like, wow, it's been 20 years, and it's still there. And then put the nose over a little bit, pull a little bit of collective, and you get moving. You go through translational lift, and you feel the helicopter shudder, and you get that whine. And it's just this absolutely glorious feeling of freedom, and also being in control of this 15,000-pound machine that's got more power than God, right? These stupid things can lift 6, 7, 8,000 pounds, right?
My.
That's like 4 mid-sized cars, right?
Right.
There's 2 giant turbine engines, and they're so easy to fly. The Hawk is such a well-designed aircraft. And then I had my choice going back to the Guard of whatever aircraft I wanted. I could have gone and flown
F-14s.
C-12s, Beach King Airs. I could have flown Chinooks. I could have gone to Apaches, whatever. I was told whatever you want, because I have both fixed wing, multi-engine, and rotary wing qualifications. And I said I wanted to go back to the Hawk. And people were like, it's just such a maneuverable, powerful, easy aircraft to fly.
When you got back in, oh, excuse me. When you got back into the cockpit, you were very passionate and jubilant. And would it be fair to say that it was just like riding a bike?
That's actually a pretty good analogy. It was really, okay, yep, you can feel what it's doing, you can hear what it's doing. There's some differences. It's lighter than the previous version. It auto rotates a little bit different. But no, it was like riding a bike. It was just felt so comfortable and natural. And it's just this exhilarating. It's the way I describe it, that's a little bit risque is it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
I thought we were going somewhere with that.
She did.
She says risque, and I was there. I'm like,
No.
I am locked in. Let's do it.
But I love that
No,
for you.
it's just flying the Hawk is just freaking magical to me, right? And I know it's not that way for everybody. I've taken my kids flying in fixed wing and rotary wing aircraft, and this is kind of fun, but it's not magic, right? It's not a calling. It's not something that makes your soul sing. Right? It's not this glorious melding of your thoughts and what your proprioception and your knowledge and your feel for this aircraft melding into making this 15,000 pounds of aircraft do exactly what you want with no conscious effort whatsoever. It just sort of magically happens going between you think what you want this aircraft to do and your hands make it happen without thinking about it all, because it just kind of magically happens because you've done it for so long.
I have a question. Is there something about flying the aircraft that is just maybe on a gender scale affirming for you?
No,
No, you just okay. Well, it was a question.
no, there's nothing gender affirming about flying the helicopter, because flying the helicopter is, the helicopter couldn't possibly care less what kind of bits you have or your gender identity or anything like that.
Right.
It's just, you're just a pilot, right? And I say just, but
Well, I'm thinking like along the lines of trans man goes and makes it to the military and ends up being a machine gunner, and he has to haul this shit around. Like, that's a lot of shit. And, I don't know. My thought is maybe there's jobs like that might be an affirming thing. And I didn't know if maybe that you're just like, oh, yeah, I'm totally this badass bitch. And I don't know if it's just...
the vast majority of pilots are men, so I would actually say it's more disaffirming, because you have to figure out, well, how does I do a very masculine job, right? How does that relate to my identity? Because what does that say about me? Does that say that there's something false about my identity?
What about...
But having a partner who is cisgender, who has been a tall ship sailor and does tech, it's like, well, no. Women can do this. Cisgender women can do this too. This is not.
So what's it like being trans and being back in the military? Because now you're out. Now you're visible, but you're not.
I wasn't. That was the thing, though. Very, very few people knew I was trans.
Okay.
It wasn't relevant. And one of the things I've learned was that, one, it's nobody's business.
It isn't.
Two, people treat you differently when they find out you're trans.
For sure.
Right? And it's not in a good way, typically.
No.
Right? The best you get is, oh, you're so brave. No, I'm not brave. I just want to do my fucking job.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm not here to be a token. The Governor Newsom reached out to me at one point when I first got back in and said, hey, we're having a Transgender Day of Visibility. Do you want us to highlight you? And I said, no. I don't want any recognition for this.
And now you're on our podcast.
I'm just a pilot doing a job. I don't want to be known as that trans pilot or that trans person.
Right.
I just want to be known as Chief Warrant Officer 2 Tannehill.
But you had written a book by this point.
and let my piloting ability speak for me.
But you had written a book at this point, hadn't you?
Yeah.
So I mean, you were already out. Like you had already.
I'm out, but nobody's Googling me. Nobody's reading my books. Nobody's going and looking for me. I'm just some random pilot at the unit.
That also helped write language for a fucking executive order.
Well, okay, I didn't want people to know that too, because that would make it look like I'd done favoritism. But the thing is I wanted to stand on my own merits.
Yes.
Right. And the one officer evaluation report I got while I was there put me top quarter early promote amongst all pilots in the California National Guard.
Wow.
Right. Who are Chief Warrant Officer 2s.
Wow. I
was bordering on rock star, right, for a CW2, because I knew my shit. I was a good pilot. I was physically fit. I had a plan. I showed up.
Yeah.
I worked hard.
Yeah.
I flew my butt off. I mentored the younger pilots.
Yeah.
Because I was an old fart, right? Because I came back as a junior pilot, but I already had, as a CW2.
Yeah.
But I already had like 1,500 flight hours coming back. So that made me one of the more experienced pilots at the unit, right?
Right. I've been in that position.
So yeah, I was not looking for recognition. I was not looking to be that trans person. I was just looking to be another pilot who could maybe contribute something based off of her experience.
And I like that you point that out, because so many people, when you become, this is one of the hard things that we had about this podcast, was neither I nor Bear identifies as trans. So for us to go put ourselves out there as this face of things trans makes both of us very uncomfortable. It's not how we want to be seen. And so I completely understand, because as soon as people put that, they find out that you're trans, suddenly that becomes everything about you. And people know you as, oh yeah, there's my trans person, and everything is about them being trans.
And honestly, it's the least interesting thing about me. The transition is so long ago and I've been that's so far in my past that it's not particularly interesting. It's not particularly relevant. It's not particularly fresh or new.
Okay.
Whatever feelings I had before then, whatever turmoil it caused in my life, that is so far in the past that the only people who make anything of me being trans are the people who want to hurt me for it. And that's, yeah.
Fair enough. I think in general, this would be a good place to end a first episode.
Oh,
and then come back in for a second.
At that time, yeah, I'm ready for a part 2 for sure.
Cool. So you want to take us out of part 1 real quick?
Yeah, and thanks for joining us for part 1, and we'll be back shortly after a break, and we'll get right back into part 2 with Brynn.